Get the majority of that paint off your brush before you bring it to the wall. And let the bristles ride that corner. This is not the fastest way. This is, however, we think the cleanest way. We're ready to paint. If the ceiling is okay, what we like to do is allow the brush to dictate that cut line for you. So we're not creating an arbitrary line on our own. We're gonna put the brush into the corner and we're gonna ride that and let the ceiling dictate our cut line for us. One important aspect for creating a clean cut line is paint management. Basically how much paint you have on your brush. This is where we see most people go wrong. Now there's lots of different ways to get paint on the wall, but for what we're gonna show you today, the key is to have a minimal amount of paint on your brush and therefore a minimal amount of paint in your cut line. So if you wanna take a look in here, get your brush nice and saturated initially, but what you wanna do is you wanna get the majority of that paint off your brush before you bring it to the wall. Now that my brush has paint on it, the first thing I do is I put a few strokes on the wall, and this lets me know that I definitely don't have too much paint at the tip of my brush. Now from there, I'm gonna take the point of the angled sash and I'm gonna stick it gently on the wall and then slide it up into the corner. So now I know that my bristles are right in the corner, and because I know there's not too much paint on there, I can slide it along that corner nice and softly, making sure that I'm not putting too much paint where the wall meets the ceiling. So again, the biggest problem I see most people make is that they put a big bead of paint on the end of their brush, and then when they go to stick it up into the corner, you create sort of a snowplow effect where the paint billows over the end of the bristles. And that's what gives you those wavy cut lines. So once you have that first top line created, I'm gonna go back carefully and I'm gonna fill in below that. Again, this part gets a lot quicker as you get steadier with the brush, but in the beginning, take your time. Don't go too fast. That's what's gonna lead to a sloppy job. Next, I'm gonna show you what it looks like when you do what we see most people doing. So if I don't worry too much about how much paint I have on my brush, and I put that on the wall, as soon as I start pushing that along, you can see that paint building up at the end of the bristles there. And so even if I'm very accurate with that, let's say that was my cut line, when I go back and I try to smooth that out, that paint, because there's so much of it, it's gonna just keep growing and growing and growing as I push it along. Not only that, I'm now left with a thick textured section of the wall. So trying to smooth that out is only gonna spread the paint more and smear it onto surfaces that you don't want paint on in the first place. So that's why we say less is more when it comes to cutting. I'd rather go back, clean up a spot that isn't fully colored than have to spread out a big smear of paint. Let's get rid of that, shall we? Let's hide the evidence. Can't leave that on there, it's not fresh. Again, a couple strokes just to make sure. And again, I'm gonna start below and I'm gonna let the bristles ride that corner. Ride the corner nice and smoothly, come back and fill in any light spots. And again, now I'm setting the top line for my cut. I know that's perfect now, so I can fill it in by adding more paint underneath it. And as I said, you will get faster at this part. I'm able to sort of just mindlessly bring my brush back and forth to fill it in, but if you're not comfortable with the brush, slow, slow, slow is the key. Remember, if I had too much paint on my brush here, as I'm pushing the bristles into the ceiling, the paint from the top of the brush is gonna actually smear it into the ceiling and you'll lose that line. So that line will now sneak onto the ceiling and it'll give you the impression that this wall goes higher than it does. We're letting the wall dictate the cut for us here. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest key to this system. Let the wall dictate your cut, don't create your own. And that's how you make sure that it stays straight, or at least as straight as the wall and the ceiling allow it to be.